Hey guys, Matthew here once again. Got a quick update video on the Thorns Barb, which has turned out to be a pretty powerful build. As you can see there, a tier 40 something butcher just exploding. We're currently level 91 or 2, something like that. Here's another clip of the Helltide Assassin thing just destroying itself on World Tier 4. That was with a lethal shrine though, which is a bit unethical because that's a crit shrine. Got some PvP clips as well. That guy there, level 100 rogue, who was farming me, happened to explode at some point as well. So I've just got a bunch of PvP clips and as well as a bit of gameplay. So this level 100 rogue was actually just destroying me, but he died at some point because I think Mob Splash owns players out. Like the Thorns Splash that mobs hit you with splashes to players and does way more damage than it should, which is I think happened there. I don't know. But yeah, just a few little PvP clips, a few gameplay clips, and then more PvP clips. All the PvP I've managed to do so far is off stream because the Oz servers only have people running around in the evening for PvP. So more just a bit of gameplay and stuff and a bit of discussion about the build for now. So Thorns Barb, since I last made the video, it hasn't really changed. It just kept getting more thorns, kept getting paragon and stuff, but I think it is basically the laziest, most powerful build of any ARPG I've ever played. Your main objective is to get hit by enemies, and you have a bit of your own damage in the form of rend and bleed if things aren't dying immediately. With the Thorns Splash from the AoE legendary, it makes clear very reliable once you've got the a high tier roll. So you can get one from the occultist, which is 40% splash or chance to splash. If you get a really good one on your weapon, then it can go up to 80%, and that once I got that on in the build, it basically just started clearing really nicely. You just need one or two things to basically hit you, and then things start dying. And then the rest of the character is essentially just building tanky. So you try and get some life, you try and get some damage reduction. You still get some thorns. I do have a razor plate on at this point of the build as well. I found one at like level 65 or 70, something like that. And it is a bit of a game changer, but it certainly isn't strictly required. I'm not even sure it's correct in the end game because I think we'll have enough thorns from other sources that when you really need to push higher tiers and stuff like that, you might need a much tankier chest. I'm not sure yet. But for now, Razor Plate's perfectly fine. It's doing a lot of extra thorns damage. I'm starting to hit thorns on enemies for like 1 to 1.5 million, getting closer to 2 million, I think. And it's a typical build. It's just like for damage scaling. Yep, thorns is a bit weird, but you still just get vulnerable damage, you still just get other multipliers. The only difference is I'm not really scaling crit because it doesn't crit. The only way Thorns crits is with a lethal shrine, and other than that, it doesn't crit. So it's still scaled very normally, and yeah, you then just get life and thorns and damage reduction and do your best to get hit by things. You'll soon, while playing the build, learn what dungeons are fun and good and which ones aren't, because some have mob types that just don't hit you very often. Some have mob types that literally just run away and actually don't hit you. Some have more annoying layouts, etc. But the good thing about it is Nightmare Dungeon mods, you can pretty much do any of them. That is very comfortable. You can do resource burn, you can do all kinds of other shit, and it doesn't really matter. Some of the damage reduction ones aren't great, but whatever. Still doable, thus far. Up to about tier 45. I will be trying to take this character to level 100. I, as you can see, have done some other PvP. Just a couple nights I've logged in and tried to find some people. It's the first PvP I've done in Diablo 4, and level scaling is a bit of a bitch, so I think the level 100s, while I was like level 88 or 89, were a lot harder for me to face. And yeah, like rogues would just come in and obliterate me, even though I'm very tanky. They'd just come in and a lot of the time like damn near one-shot me. Some Hota Barb would one-shot me, but I could stand toe-to-toe against some level 100s. Like I managed to kill this droid a few times, managed to kill a level 100 Sork a few times. Yeah, I'm not too sure how all the scaling is working just yet. Maybe when I'm level 100, I'll see exactly how the Thorns is against enemies, but there is a bit of a cheese strategy, as I said, where you can have enemies hit you, and when that Thorns splash goes against the PvE, it does the PvE damage against PvP people if they're next to you. So it's tough to pull that off, but sometimes it will happen and people will die, as you saw with that level 100 rogue. Other than that, yep, just took on some other people around my level or a good bit higher, and some people lower level than me, like if someone's 70 or 80, they just get like one shot, so the level scaling must come into it where it's damn near impossible to take on someone higher than you. It is definitely a bit weird. But Thorns Barb PvP seems like it could be a bit of a thing, maybe a bit of a meta, and it could become toxic if a lot of people are doing it, is basically what I'm going to say. Not sure how the future of PvP is going, if it's just going to be a bunch of Thorns Barbs standing around waiting to hit each other. Something like that. But so far, the rogues and the Hota Barbs seem to be the toughest things out there. And maybe that just keeps on going. But I will try and get this character to 100 and experience Uber Lilith, and also experience some level 100 PvP against other level 100s, and see if it is, normal, or if I'm still just getting farmed, or what's going to be happening there. But surprisingly, PvP is actually where my Rend, which does fuck all damage, is doing okay. Like, stack up a few Rends and dudes seem to be running away dying pretty well. Like, my Thorns does, I don't know, 10 to 15 times more damage than what my Rend will ever do, but in PvP it seems as though the Rend ticks for substantial amounts when you actually get it up. But as of now, currently, still don't really know what people are doing. Like, playing against this level 100 Sork is just fucking going immune sometimes, and some shit. I don't know. Still something to figure out. But the PvP in these games has never been something I'm really interested in. Diablo 2, Diablo 3, PoE, I guess. It's just ARPG PvP, which is pretty imbalanced mess, and you just have like a button you're pressing, so it's kind of bare bones as well. So WoW PvP is what I've always been into. There's a lot of, cooldowns, buttons, and rotations, and outplaying enemies, so that's kind of fun. Whereas these are they're pretty one-dimensional and horribly balanced. So yeah, this is some footage of me getting owned by some of those level 100s and stuff, because definitely relevant, at least at my current level. They're like 10 to 12 levels above me, and I'm just like, oh fuck, I can't do anything. Yeah, that's just the PvP action. The level 100 rogue, once again. It wouldn't be fair to not show you that I get owned by these guys. Like, I don't want you to walk into Thorns Barb PvP and think, I'm gonna just farm everyone at level 70 because, haha, they hurt themselves from Thorns. It's definitely not like that. The 100s barely take damage from you, and it is a bit of a mess. But that said, Thorns has been insane for basically the rest of the game. It is very strong and very flexible. Like, you can do whatever you want while doing your maps for the most part. It's very tanky, it's very chill gameplay, and it is satisfying. For how boring it might look, it is satisfying. Just having things explode and be tanky and have a good, well-rounded, consistent character. It's not really high rolls, low rolls, resource, crit, none of that. It's just consistent and good. So with that, I just want to show you real quick where my character's at and the paragon board up to now. Alright, so the character is now level 92, and those are the stats at the moment. So yeah, real quick, once again, as a bit of a summary, it is pretty good up to about tier 45 that I've done so far. I haven't gone further than that, but tier 45 is very face roll, very casual. Your strong suits are enemies that hit you a lot, hard, fast, whatever. So Butcher is easy. Those types of bosses are super easy. Those events where things just non-stop spawn and hit you, very easy. Some things that are running away from you are a bit annoying, but pretty much everything has currently been pretty easy. I have tested myself against Uber Lilith at like level 85, and I can tank pretty much everything, and I will be doing some damage. So I'm going to test it again when I get higher level and maybe get an Uber Lilith kill on the boards, which would be pretty cool. So one thing you may have noticed is I just then swapped out all of my Thorns gems for life gems. You definitely use your Thorns gems until you have a really large amount of Thorns. At that point, you can go into life if you would rather, or just still Thorns. You can see my Thorns right now is 18.3k without any buffs, and that's about 1,000 less than if I was using green gems. So I had 19.2k with the green gems. I just then swapped over to the reds for more life, because we do still get a bit of Thorns out of that, but ultimately I think I just get more value out of the life for this, and I'll probably stick to the red gems. We'll see. But those are the stats there. The stats for damage and stuff, you want to have a quick look at that. This and this, whatever the fuck that means. And then the defensive are all there. And there, something like that. Yeah, so we do still scale lots of armor, we scale lots of life, and then Thorns and shit. And it's very basic gear, there's nothing too special, like, you know, unique-wise or anything. You're just looking for a razor plate. I got one around level 65, I think, and it did cause things to die a lot quicker, but up till that point I wasn't using razor plate. I was just using Thorns wherever I could, and it was fine. It was still really good, because this thing, gain Thorns while berserking, just keeps on scaling as you keep leveling if you apply it from the occultist. Currently, as you can see, it's already out of the reasonable range that exists, because the occultist is just going to keep boosting it as I keep leveling. So by the time I level 100, I think this thing's probably going to give me like 12,000 Thorns while berserking, and we maintain berserk a good amount of the time in the build. My axe here has just a bunch of eye level for damage, and other than that, pretty much all the stats I'm prioritizing are strength, all stats, vulnerable damage, and then whatever else type of damage. So we're looking crowd control, slow. We don't mind damage to close enemies, because they're usually the ones that matter, are going to be close and attacking us. So you can see all of my gear real quick. The Thorns 80% imprint is what gives us all of our AoE and feels really good. Then just have boots, bit of movement and stuff. Pants, just lots of thickness. They've got some Thorns as well, with the damage reduction from bleeding enemies, and that stacks up if you've got more bleeding enemies around you. Rend and attack speed. The razor plate, just a bunch of life, some cooldown reduction. You can also do more cooldown reduction on an amulet if you really want, and then try and spam your war cries more often, but I don't at the moment have that. My amulet just has a bunch of more damage reduction, movement speed, and tough as nails, which is a bit more Thorns damage as well. And then the big armor roll on the amulet, and then 2 rings that just have damage close, crit, and vulnerable. I'm still doing some crit scaling for the Rend, which I'm not sure is correct, but I've tested it with like basically non-crit node, and it does feel like it's doing about double damage, and it will help for, I think, Uber Lilith maybe, but it's really not important to do crit scaling on this. If you choose not to, you can definitely go without it. I think it's only maybe going to matter in the end when I start doing single target that matters without Thorns, which will be like Uber Lilith. Maybe. And then this particular imprint, I actually don't even know what to do with this ring. I just put some Fury while berserking so that I can Rend spam sometimes a bit easier, but I feel like I've got a bit of a gap in what else I can attach as a legendary power over there. So the expertise, just 2-hand expertise, and I'm just taking the sword one. I don't know, it doesn't seem like there's much I can do. And then the actual skill tree, once again, think that's the same as what I would have already showed. I'm not sure I changed anything. I got rid of Leap Slam, I took Steel Grasp. Like I said, the point of that was for vulnerable and berserking on demand. Otherwise, yeah, there's the skill tree. I don't think anything else has changed. The Paragon tree, however, I've just tried to, like most powers seem kind of shit for us. Even glyphs seem kind of shit for us. I've just tried to prioritize getting life, some various forms of damage and vulnerable damage. So we've got a glyph socket for bleed damage over here, or damage against bleeding enemies, pathing around, something like that, and taking just a whole bunch of shit. I then attached this board, which is Blood Rage, kill a bleeding enemy, berserking. So just for mapping, it's a more consistent form of berserking. Picked up the berserk node. I have exploit over here. Once you get exploit, that's when things start reliably dying to second hits, because they'll hit you with thorns and then get like vulnerable, and then, or you hit them with an attack and then they'll get vulnerable, then they'll die almost immediately. Damage reduction from bleed and bleed stuff, and damage to bleed. We got this node up here, which I didn't take, so this is Decimator and Wheel, which just gives us some good stuff, vulnerable and flat damage and damage reduction stuff. And then this one I put, which is the Shout cooldown reduction, but mostly just to boost like blue gems. Like I'm pretty stuck with glyphs here, so if you guys do better than this, by all means do better, but this is just, it felt like I had some bad options and I'm just making the most of my bad options, so I don't feel like I'm getting a whole bunch of power out of any of this shit. This one over here is Might, which gives us 8% damage while wielding two-hander, and then it boosts some stuff. So yeah, just some nodes, and I'll put up a planner for this as well in case you want to like copy that. And then we went up, and I'm starting to now just go up after filling out like every good blue gem or blue node I can, and just gonna grab some more damage reduction, another glyph, and I'll figure out what to do with that, and then maybe go all the way up to hemorrhage if I can be fucked. Yeah, and hopefully that is all the information you need. Thorns Barb, very strong stuff, and a very good starting character with no gear whatsoever. You can just scale Thorns while leveling, pick whatever skill you want. I think Ren's a pretty good accompaniment, and then as you go, get stronger and see if you enjoy the playstyle. Yeah, there might be another video if I do some Uber Lula thing. Otherwise, that might be it for video content on this one. We'll have to wait and see. Thank you very much for watching. See you guys next time.